Hey guys, it's Chef Jules. Thank you for tuning in again this week. I am going to be doing my first recipe, and I'm going to start off the video with a question. Are we team pancake or team waffle? Me personally, I could go either way. I don't know about you guys. Feel free to comment what you think. But the biggest thing for me is breakfast, and pancakes and waffles are two of my favorites by far for breakfast foods. However, with gluten-free stuff, they tend to be on the drier side, a little more dense, so that can be a little bit discouraging when you're used to the normal pancakes and waffles with regular flour and regular ingredients. So the past couple of years, that has been my main focus because breakfast is by far one of my favorite meals. So waffles and pancakes have definitely been one of my most experimented recipes. I'm going to be focusing on pancakes today, but keep watching for future waffle recipes. And I have two variations of pancakes that I was going to talk about. I did the variation using gluten-free flour today. I do have almond flour as well. That is not the one I'm going to be showing, but I'm going to be doing a future recipe with it. I just wanted to be able to talk about it with you guys. So all the ingredients I have laid out are the ones that I used for the actual recipe. And then when you put all these together, you get this batter here. And I don't know about you, but I feel like that looks pretty close to a typical pancake batter. Really light. And when I think about pancakes, I think light, fluffy, not dense or dry, and these definitely aren't. So I'm very, very excited with how this turned out. I personally don't put sugar in mine. If you like yours sweeter, you definitely can, or you can use a sugar substitute like stevia or Splenda. Both work really well. You could even put maple syrup or honey in it. And I normally do about 2 tablespoons if I was gonna add it. And sometimes I do if I'm feeling like I wanna add a little bit of sweetness, or chocolate chips. I'm a really big fan of chocolates, so chocolate chips are probably my main go-to. Didn't in these ones, however, feel free to add chocolate chips, nuts, fruit, whatever you like to add to them. It works well with every variation. The almond flour is the exact same with everything with the ingredients. They just don't get as fluffy as the regular flour does, just because the reaction with the baking powder doesn't work the exact same. They still taste amazing though. So if you don't want the starch from a regular flour, almond or coconut both work great, and they taste really, really good. So for this recipe in particular, just for you and one other person, I just used 1 cup of flour, of the gluten-free flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, which is this one. There's also baking powders you can get without cornstarch in it. So if people can't have corn, then there's a good option as well that you can use, and it works just as well. I used 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. If you like a little bit more, you can, and it also works really well with the baking powder and makes it rise more. So if you wanted to add an extra teaspoon, feel free. And I used about 1 cup of the lactose-free milk. If you can't have dairy at all, then 1 cup of the coconut milk works just as well. I just like both variations because I can have a little bit of dairy. But either one you can use 1 cup of. Sometimes it's a little bit thick because it's gluten-free, so I'd add a little bit more, like 1/4 or 1/2 cup, just to thin it out a little bit. And then I used 2 eggs. If you wanted to double it, then you could just add an extra to each of the things that I just said. Depending on the size of the pancakes, if you wanted smaller ones, this makes about 8. So it's perfect for 2 people. If you wanted bigger ones, then I'd say it's about 6. So 6 to 8 pancakes. And then you could get 12 to 15, maybe even 20 if you made them really tiny. So that is pretty much the recipe. Turns out great every time. One of my favorites. So that's the batter. And then this I actually use to make whipped cream to put on top. It is the Silk dairy-free whipped cream. This one is made with coconut cream. If you're not a big fan of coconut or you can't have it, then there's also oat base and soy. If you're just not feeling this one as much, all of them work well, and they work to make the same peaks that regular whipped cream does. I like using this in particular just because it's faster. I don't know if many of you whipped cream by hand, but it can take a long time. So this makes it go a little bit faster. However, you can use a whisk and do it by hand too. So both work. And then you actually are able to get really nice stiff peaks with this. It works really, really well. So it looks exactly like whipped cream and tastes like it too. I like adding a little bit of vanilla extract in it as well, just to give it that little extra flavor. You don't have to if you just want it plain, or you can even add sugar sweetener in it to make it a little bit sweeter. So that's basically the recipe and everything that I use, and some of my favorites that I use. There are a lot of different brands that you can get that are plant-based that work just as well. You can just find what works best for you. And then I have the final product here. So I made 3 of them, and that's usually what I would do for myself in the morning. If I'm a little bit hungrier, maybe 4. But you can have the amount that you want. And then I love putting berries with pancakes. It's one of my favorite things to do. Maybe not with the chocolate chip ones. I'd probably do bananas. But for just plain, I love doing the berries. And then I also love adding maple syrup as well, which I have here. So sometimes I'll just add a little bit to go right over the top. You could also do honey as well if you prefer the taste of honey, but I love adding just a tiny bit of that. So as you can see, I think these turned out pretty good. You can see the fluffiness and the height in them, and they're so light, it's amazing, because I'm not a big fan of dense pancakes, so I love the fact that these just eat super nice and you don't feel really full afterwards. So by far one of my favorite recipes. I hope that you guys all like it and enjoy. If you have any questions on cooking them or any tips or tricks on what you can use, feel free to comment, ask any questions that you would like. Share, like, post, reshare the video, and I'm really excited for you guys to try this. Let me know what you think, and then I will be showing the almond flour version and all the different ones with waffles. That'll be next week. Thank you for watching, and I hope you guys have a great rest of the week.